broke down the door, we came to win. TLA Season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold-ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans, because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.
Welcome to 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 74 of our podcast, and on today's show, we're going to continue our NFL International Series preview by talking about a new team, the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be playing the Los Angeles Chargers in Mexico City here in a couple of weeks. Also, we will talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of the NFL, as well as we've got a new Brexit Bootbag winner, and also we'll continue our S. Carter collection segment as well.
Appreciate that, brother.
But first, Red O, what you sipping on, sir?
Sipping on something I shouldn't be.
That's correct.
But I'm also sipping on the fact that I'm just going to take this time to tell the world that I, Omar Henderson, a.k.a. Red O, is going to choose not to be offended that people felt the need to check to see if I was cheating on my picks.
All right.
Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
Gentlemen, well, due to recent events, I'm now sipping on a little Neosporin and but keeping it history related, y'all. Keeping it history related. November 6th, 1995, the great Art Modell told the city of Cleveland that the light is turning green. Bye, bitch. And next season, 1996, they are moving the franchise to the great city of Baltimore. And if you ask me, I think that was a great business decision. But on top of that, something a little more recent that I want to sip on is that I officially have to change my name on this show to KOD Kev. And that's because I seem to give everyone the kiss of death on this show. Anytime I proclaim that someone's good, the following week they shit the bed. If y'all remember last year, I said the Panthers were legit. They lost 7 straight games after that. I said the Indianapolis football team would come out of the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. Their quarterback fucking retired. I said the Bears would come out the NFC. Their quarterback needs to retire. And last week, I said the Packers were the best team in football, and then they shit the bed in LA. I'm done. I'm done making proclamations. I'm a curse.
Well, I'm sipping on a little bit of Pale Ale Sierra Nevada. This is, I believe, 4 shows in a row now. And
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Continuing with the theme of, you didn't say this, but I'm going to say it, disappointment in the NFL. I'm sipping on the 3 most disappointing teams. You've got the aforementioned Chicago Bears. You've got the Atlanta Falcons at 1-7. And you've got the Cleveland Browns at whatever they are. I think 2-6. 2-6. Thank you. There's a common thread though with these 3 most disappointing teams, and it's ego. With the Bears, and saying nothing of the decision to draft Trubisky, but just the fact that they have a really good defense, and they had success when Chase Daniels was playing. Trubisky comes back, the offense is still putrid, and they won't go to Chase Daniels. Whether you say it's pace or whether you say it's Nagy or both, there's ego. Then you look at the Atlanta Falcons. Dan Quinn, coming into the season, fires his defensive coordinator and decides that he's going to be the one to call the plays on defense, even though when you look at the current 4 coaches that call plays from a defensive perspective that are head coaches, they have a winning percentage of around 53%. And you'd be hard-pressed to find any defensive head coach, any head coach that has a defensive background that has actually called plays and won a Super Bowl. And then you look at the Cleveland Browns, And John Dorsey celebrated this offseason for the pickups they had in free agency, for some of their draft picks, although I think that they could have done a better job. He could have done a better job in terms of drafting for the offensive line. But instead of getting an experienced coach, he gets Freddie Kitchens, a guy who called plays for 8 games, was previously a quarterback coach, and you make him the first-time head coach, all because if Freddie Kitchens works out, all the credit goes to you, John Dorsey, and we see what's happening there in Cleveland. So for fans of those 3 franchises, I pity you because you're falling short due to big egos. Dad, what you sipping on?
Sipping on, he was guzzling that shit.
Hey, it was almost wrap it up, B. Wrap that shit up, B.
Damn dog, you the goose.
Like, damn, rock off, son. I'm sipping
Great
on
points.
I'm sipping on some Stella, and I'm just so elated and pumped up about
Oh shit.
the big win that the Baltimore Ravens had this Sunday.
Definition in the chat.
It was a big win. We handed the Patriots their first loss of the season, and I'm as Omar knows, we've argued this before. I'm very proud of my little city of Baltimore. 93% of the population tuned in to watch that game.
I come from a smaller city, but it's cool. It's true.
Junior Blue.
I'm sipping on this Stella also, thanks to Def. He's my bartender.
Clean
But,
pours too.
On Saturday night, there was a boxing match between Canelo Alvarez and Sergey. I don't even want to call his nickname anymore. The Crusher.
He used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a little while.
Pillow hands. I don't know what we gonna call him.
We're gonna get into it.
But there was a fight. To me, most of the fight was Kovalev trying to jab his way, not even really a forceful jab, but jab his way and keep the distance between him and Canelo. And Canelo found a way to, shorten that distance and got some power shots off. And then in the, 11th round?
11th round.
11th round, he hit him with a left to the tempo, and it set his chin up right at the perfect level.
Perfectly.
And he teed off and crushed him and put him to sleep, laying on the ropes. My question to you, I know me and Dev talked about it. How did you see the fight? Because I saw it as Canelo winning and eventually knocking him out. But during the whole fight, I had Canelo up.
I had Kovalev winning the fight. I thought it was a close fight. I thought that Canelo really had an issue in the beginning with gauging distance and the size of Kovalev. And I give credit to Canelo because he did what he was supposed to do, and he's very talented, and we need to give him the praise that he deserves. But I can't help but to think that I have never seen Kovalev not throw a single power shot. He was pity-patting. Yes, he did throw a couple shots out there, and he got countered, but there were times where he could have taken advantage of it. It seemed like he was there to, okay, I don't want to say that it was rigged, but it felt like a fucking farce to me. Almost like the Chavez fight, where Chavez didn't throw any punches. Kovalev was doing enough pity pat. I felt like he could have gotten the smaller man out of there. I know that I don't want to take away from Canelo actually landing the shot and knocking him out because that was legit. You can't fake that shit. But I just felt like he didn't even try to hurt Canelo. And that's just, I mean, I haven't watched that fight the second time, but my initial fight the first time through Omar snores. But that's what I thought. That's how we.
So my problem was that they waited so long.
Yes.
45 minutes
for the UFC fights to end, and I lost the fight with Dev's couch. Yo, I woke up at the end of the 10th round, or maybe the beginning.
You woke up when I said he's hurt.
Oh, so it was the 11th round. I saw the knockout, but that was it. That was it. Because they waited 45 minutes. It's a bad idea. When you showing the boxers laying on a couch,
Right.
it's not a good look.
And I feel like there was an opportunity for some sort of cross promotion there. Granted, they agreed to not step on each other's toes, but from what I heard, and maybe someone has better information, in the actual stadium where they had the boxing match, They were showing the UFC fight to
were.
the fans.
They were.
Mhm.
But us at home,
We're watching people on the couch
yes. And we couldn't watch the UFC fight.
until I was watching the back of my eyelids.
Yeah, I
If
actually
you thought the fight, I was gonna say, Omar, if you thought the fight started late, how the fuck you think I feel? It was 1:45. I had to do some jumping jacks just to stay awake. But real quick before we go to Ken, I do agree with Dev. I thought Kovalev was winning the fight before the knockdown or the knockout, but more so because although he was throwing pillow punches like Les alluded to, Canelo would land the power punches, but it would only be 2 or 3 around. So for me, it's hard for me to give him just flat out give him the fight when he wasn't the one dictating the action. But again, he did what great fighters do, and he ended it before 3 a.m. on my part of the country, so I wasn't too mad about that.
Yeah, when I didn't watch the fight the night of because I knew that it was going to be a long fight and I preferred to watch football, and then I went to sleep. I watched it the following day, and I think that Canelo, I feel like his real fights, the last 3 or 4 real fights that he's had, Canelo always shows something new. And I think what he showed in this fight was his footwork. I think he had really good footwork, and I think a lot of Kovalev's inactivity, besides the jab and keeping him at a distance, was the fact that Canelo moved better than he anticipated. And what I believe happened was Canelo always was going for the knockout. It was a matter of setting up the shot and getting Kovalev into position. Canelo is really, really, really talented. I also think Kovalev was concerned about the firepower that was coming back. And that also played a part. Outside of the height and the length, Canelo had every other physical advantage. The question for me really is about where does Canelo go from here?
That was my next question.
Well, he better not bark up the tree that he started to open his mouth on, because he said that he want that Better Beef smoke, and Better Beef is not 36, although he's 33, but he hasn't been in the wars that Kovalev been in, and he's a lot stronger.
I got a name for you guys. Andre Ward.
I saw that today as well. He doesn't want that either.
Stop it. Let's.
I don't know why,
there's some
because
smoke to it.
Andre Ward, this would be a big money fight for Andre Ward.
It
Has
would
he
and
be.
he's
had
never,
one
and
yet?
he's never, and that's something he's never had.
Don't want him to do it.
Why not?
How long has Andre Ward been out?
How long was he out before he fought the
How,
last
yeah, but that how old is he now? There's a difference, and we all know Father Time is undefeated in the game of boxing. And let's not pretend.
He's fought half the rounds that Canelo has.
And let's not pretend.
He's
so
fought-
what? So
okay.
what? He's older.
70% of those were against taxi drivers.
He's also fighting fucking Canelo. Like, let's not pretend like Canelo is not different. He is different. That kid, I've always said the best thing about Canelo is he learns. He's a great student of the game of boxing.
And Andre Ward isn't?
Yeah, but Andre Ward is 100 years old. I don't want to see
He'll be 36 in February.
Ooh.
boxing terms for somebody who's been out for what, 3 years, 4 years?
No, his last fight was the Kovalev fight. What was that, 17 or 16?
3 years ago.
2-3 years.
2-3 years
He
ago.
but he's used to that kind of inactivity.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
That's cool once to keep doing it. Like one, he would have to have two
Tune-up fights?
Yeah.
two tune-up fights
Mm.
One. I think
to
2.
fight
The
him.
last time he did tune-ups is because he was moving up from 6'8" to 75.
I would think that he needs, and this is not knowing whether or not if he's been in the gym. Assuming he's not been in the gym, I think he would need 2 tune-up fights. But
Because he's probably a heavyweight right now.
right, that's a fight that I would like to see for sure. I'm not concerned about Ward at all, because the thing about what we do know about Canelo, even though again I just said you said it, he gets better, he learns all of that. Andre Ward knows how to box.
Yes.
100%. 100%. So I think that's the best and biggest fight. The real problem that I have, but I don't want to be hypocritical, because you could make that same argument to some extent when Floyd was Money Mayweather, is that there are guys at his weight class, even at 168, that Canelo could fight.
It's just not big money fights.
Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant, Callum Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Andrade, Big Charlo, like there are fights there for him. And then even if he wants to stay at 175, like you said, I don't think that he wants to fight Bivol or
Well, Bivol is the smaller of the ones. Better Beef is. I mean, I had some questions about
Those guys are not washed, and Canelo
No.
is not a natural 175. He can walk around at 175, but he's not a natural 175.
I mean, a big fight that would have happened, that would have been good in maybe a year or so. It went away when my man flipped his car over. Because
Yeah, but he's gone from 60 though. He's never coming back down.
he's never
Canelo.
coming back. He's never coming back to 160.
He said it's difficult. He made the point that it's
He's going to
difficult.
start doing that catchweight shit again, or he's going to campaign at 68.
Yeah.
He'll probably start fighting people at 70.
There's no money for him to have to stress himself to make 60 is really what it is.
Mhm.
And I mean, and that's true, which is why, again, I love the idea. But I mean, listen, Canelo's good. He is, for me, a number one pound for pound fighter.
His resume is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, what at the outcome with Kovalev. And I think that Kovalev gave an honest effort, but
I don't.
I'm surprised at the knockout.
hmm.
I am surprised at the knockout. Kovalev is taking some heavy shots from some fighters. I'm surprised that he got knocked cold.
Are you surprised when you hear Kovalev say that after the 6th round he was gassed, which is exactly what he said?
I'm not surprised.
I don't know. His chin was teed up.
Correct.
Like
You hit
literally,
anybody
I
like
don't know
that, they
who
go to
doesn't
sleep.
get knocked out by that.
And that's what happens when
It's
you get
Sleep.
Is Korvalev done?
how much? What was the purse?
12, he got 12
I
million.
think 12 million.
He got 12 million for that.
Yeah, he should be done.
Oh, that's a lot of vodka.
Stay in Mother Russia. He should be done.
I mean, where is there for him to go?
He's going to stay at 175, but he's not beating, I don't think.
He can be a stepping stone for another couple years.
I mean, yeah, if he wants to. Yes,
I mean,
he
but
can do that.
But there's no point in the other two champions because Better Beef has 2 belts now to
Yeah.
fight Kovalev.
Correct.
I don't think he's ranked in the other sanctioning bodies. I mean, I don't know.
He's
was
just
a
Is he not a
WBO.
big enough name?
I was about to say at this point he's just a name.
But what would
Yeah.
You
Adrian
have-
Broner.
you have 2 fighters that are undefeated Eastern Bloc and champions. Then you have Canelo, that's the champ there.
Mhm.
Why would they risk fighting Kovalev when they could fight each other and unify more, or fight Canelo and get the big money and unify? Like there's
'Cause-
there's nothing for them to gain.
They might look at him as easy.
The only risk is
It's a name.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
it's
a
a
name,
name,
yeah. So he's the fight, like I said, stepping stone. He's the fight in between the big fight. That's a big name. You get paid, then you take the big fight.
I would like Canelo to fight at least somebody at 68 that, like you said, Plant
That's
or
a
Callum
fight.
Smith. Like, at least do that,
Caleb-
It just doesn't make sense for him financially.
Mr.
Yes.
Plant and Canelo, that's a skills barn burner.
Supposedly, what they're saying the next fight is Munguia. That's,
But he fights at 54.
well, he's going up to 160, and he probably can go up. He could probably go up even a little
he
bit
gonna
more.
beat
Is
on
that
the
the young
young-
Mexican cat?
Yeah.
He's a big dude. I
Right.
can see him easily going up.
Right,
he's
and now that's
already-
what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he's talking about he can't get to 60, so Munguia's going all the way up to 68 or 70.
Or catch weight.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time to talk about football.
I mean, we're trying to go to our next segment. But,
Yeah. Let's get to our S. Carter collection. This is the segment where we
There we go.
use a Jay-Z verse to talk about something that's going on in the NFL. Dev, take it away.
All right, so this goes out to the whole NFL via the Carter's album. The MVP race is blacker than the Essence Fest. The behind-the-back pass is so effortless. LeBron James to you Amoroses. Dapper Dan at 4 a.m. Shit, I'm the culture. I made my own wave, so now they anti-title. I'm living the no-sock life to spite you. There's been a history with the NFL for shunning black quarterbacks. Not smart enough to play the position.
Hi, Warren.
Too athletic. Needs to change positions. Play running back, play receiver. The prototypical quarterback is white, 6'3" and up, smart,
Smartest person in the room.
smartest person in the room,
Last to leave.
big arm. The top 3 MVP candidates in the league right now are all black quarterbacks. We got Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson. We all going to talk about it later. And they all passed the alphabet boys like an eye test. Even though they were all hated coming into the league, now you can't hide it. And they are all in line for the big alphabet, the MV and the P. They even biting cornrows. Put your scarecrows up. I come from the finest crop. Tell them guards on the row. Watch them line the block. The chitlin circuit is stopped. Now we in stadiums. 80,000 a whop. Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night after the Ravens and Lamar Jackson put on a show against the best team in the league said that NFL teams are going to start scouring college to look for players with Lamar Jackson style. It's the black effect.
All right.
Bars.
Drop the mic.
You didn't say it right. It's bars.
Let's get to our history segment, Moments in Hand Egg. We will focus, as I talked about in the opener, on the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be participating in the NFL International Series. When they were actually scheduled to go to Mexico City last year.
There was a fire.
Multiple
fires.
There's fires this year, too.
Yeah, they were scheduled to go to Mexico City to play the Los Angeles Rams, which that Monday night game ended up being in Los Angeles and ended up being
I didn't go to that game.
one of the greatest regular season games in recent history for sure. This year, they'll be going to Mexico City to play against the Los Angeles Chargers. A little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs. They are based in Kansas City. They were founded in 1960, actually as the Dallas Texans by businessman Lamar Hunt. And they were a charter member of the American Football League. In 1963, the team relocated to Kansas City, and they assumed their current name, the Chiefs. They have won an AFL championship. They won actually 3 AFL championships. They did win in 1969 the AFL and NFL Super Bowl championship, and that was before the merger that happened in 1970. Since they've been a part of the NFL, though, they have not had any success in terms of winning the Super Bowl. They've won a few division championships, 9, I believe. They have 17 playoff appearances, but they've not reached the big game. They've not won the big game. And so we will start our NFL International Series preview focusing on the Kansas City Chiefs, and we want to identify who we have as being on the Mount Rushmore for this organization. There are 2 players that were mostly unanimous. Well, there was actually 1 player that was a unanimous selection, and that is Mr. Tony Gonzalez. Tony is a graduate of UC Berkeley. He actually played basketball and football in college. First round draft pick of the Chiefs. They actually traded up to get him. He was the 13th pick.
Straight out of Torrance.
Yes, he is a Southern California native. I will start with you, Kevin. Why, for you, was Mr. Gonzalez on the Mount Rushmore for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, his mother named him Anthony David Gonzalez, so that's what I'm going to call him for the rest of the show. I mean, for me, I think we can say Tony Gonzalez is, of course, the best tight end of all time. I think most people can say that. But he, to me, is almost like, I put him in the same context as I would put Jay-Z in terms of their respectful, like, elevation to the top. Like, there have been tight ends that have come before Tony Gonzalez, whether it be Shannon Sharp, Ozzie Newsome, just guys who kind of recreated the position or transformed the position. Same thing with Jay-Z, right? Like, you got Biggie, you got Rakim, you got other guys who have paved the way, but then Tony Gonzalez, similar to Jay-Z, like, perfected it. Like, made it to a point where he was one of those, in his prime, he was like the unstoppable tight end in the league. But
one of one.
And the only knock I would say on Tony, and Shannon Sharp would second this, is that he never quite got over the top. But they weren't, those teams that got to the playoffs and got bounced in the first or second round wasn't because of him. You asked Tony Gonzalez, he's ultimate teammate, but I'm sure he would tell you it was that defense. It wasn't him. I remember, I don't know if it was against Indy, but they had a playoff game with Indy didn't punt the ball. Like the other team did not punt the ball in the playoff game. That you can't put that on the offense, let alone the tight end. But when it's all said and done, he is the epitome of what the modern tight end is. He's perfected the position and allowed other guys like Travis Kelce and Gronk to have the careers that they've had.
Redo?
Besides the stats that are undeniable, if something that happened this weekend, he works what? CBS, right? Fox. So they had a segment where him, Shannon Sharp, and Gronk went to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of shows you who he is as a man, because Sharp, who is, 90, he came in 97, so he's the elder statesman. Sharp was talking shit. And even though he knows he's the greatest tight end of all time, he was looking at Sharp like, not even looking at it, he kept telling, you got that, because, he's talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
You got that. And then Gronk sees this, and Gronk tried to talk shit, and he shut Gronk the fuck down. Like, he can talk shit. You can shut the fuck up. But he said it in such a calm manner that Gronk, all he could do was laugh nervously, right? And it was just like, okay, this is a man who understands his place in history.
Mm-hmm.
This is a man who understands what it is to be a teammate, to have veterans teach him, and to teach to be a veteran of somebody else. It was just a 5-minute skit, and you can see his whole career right there. He was calm, and Shannon Sharp was digging.
Yeah.
He didn't blink.
Well, that was, for me, that was the thing that stood out, even in his Hall of Fame speech. He talked about, there were 2 veterans that he specifically called out that really sort of showed him how to not only be a teammate and a professional, but also how to treat the youngs. It's interesting that that's sort of your anecdote. The first one was Marcus Allen, and he talked about how with Marcus, he called him early on in his rookie season when he had hit the rookie wall, and he said, hey, give me your number. I'm going to give you a call. And he said that he called him, and something very simple, just told him, listen, you got it. You're going to be good. You'll get through it. Keep working. And he said for him as a rookie, hearing that from someone like Marcus Allen was what he was, the thing, that inspiration that he needed to then push forward and to finish out strong, where he ended up being, he made the all-rookie team in his first year. And then he talked about Warren Moon and how Warren Moon as a veteran really took him under his wing and really showed him how to be a professional. So that anecdote that you gave in terms of how he interacted between Gronk and between Sharp, that's something that, again, was a testament. And this is a guy that was great. He 15 out of 16 seasons caught 100 balls. And he only missed, and to me this is the biggest thing, only missed 2 games in his entire career. And normally you hear linemen that'll go long like that, or quarterbacks who are protected,
because linemen get hit every game,
right?
Every play.
There's some big corn-fed boys.
This is somebody that's doing what linemen are doing that could get hit because he could get blocked, but he's also going out into the field. And so for him to miss 2 games, to me, that's the most
in 17 years.
Yeah,
and the Falcons wanted him back. When he retired,
they needed
wanted
him back. They could have used him in a couple Super Bowls ago.
Yeah,
right.
The thing about it, not only that he only missed 2 games, the fact that he kind of changed, he kind of brought that I'm a basketball player going to tight end.
Yeah.
And now you see every NFL team trying to take a basketball player and change them into Tony Gonzalez.
Antonio Gates.
Yeah, you wouldn't have Antonio Gates or
Rico
Jimmy
Gathers,
Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I think then was one of the the Fant that played basketball was the
Noah
terrible
Fant.
tackle.
Oh, you're talking about George Fant.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
talking
thinking
about George
the wrong
Fant. Yeah.
But
Jimmy Graham was one of those spacers type fours, though. He didn't like getting hit.
The book is out on Jimmy.
Yeah, for offense, it was Gonzalez. As far as that basketball pioneer for defense, it was Julius Peppers. Like, where it opened up executives' eyes to say, listen, you can grab some of these basketball players.
He was unfair as far as Peppers playing defense and boxing out. Like that was just not fair. But for me, obviously, the numbers are stupid. He's 6th all time in receptions with, I believe, 1,325.
Yep.
He's touched the ball 1,327 times, and he's only fumbled twice.
It's disgusting.
So his ball security along with all the other accolades. And then you talk about somebody who was 10 times All-Pro, 6 times All-First Team, in an era that spanned Shannon Sharp, Witten, Dallas Clark, Shockey, Heap, Vernon Davis. Like all those, and that's when he was there for the different NFL when you could kind of touch him a little bit. He was also there for when they spread it out. He was there for when Belichick introduced the double tight end set, where tight ends started to be featured more. And like he was better than all of them the entire time. So I mean, you can't get much better than that. I mean, he even holds reception records, like better reception records than Jerry Rice, which no one would ever thought. Like most seasons with 70+ receptions, 14. That's ridiculous.
Availability and dependability is what I'm hearing.
And the fact that he shall overcome, the fact that he can get on that list with the list of quarterbacks that he had thrown back. Yo, listen, I don't want to disrespect any, like, you played this game at a professional level, you deserve props, but bro, Tyler Thigpen, yo, like, come on, man. I mean, he had Trent Green at maybe the best point in his career, Matt Ryan, who was putting up numbers in this era, but to be on that list, it's almost the Larry Fitzgerald scale. Like, yo, you accomplished this much with who?
Right.
I think and the fact that he stayed in Kansas City as long as his body would allow him.
It was a lot of lean years in Kansas City, for sure. Another Mount Rushmore, almost unanimous. I think Kevin was the lone wolf, and got a question for you on this, because I don't know how you don't think about the Kansas City Chiefs and consider the impact and the dominance, although tragically short-lived, of Mr. Derek Thomas, Junior Blue.
I mean, he, like you said, he was dominant. He was dominant from the moment he stepped into Kansas City. Over his 11 seasons, he had 126 sacks. And to put it in perspective, he only had, I think, 3 or 4 seasons where he had less than double-digit sacks. And that was one of those seasons because of injury. Also, when he ended his career, which tragically, car flips over, speeding, no seatbelt on, get ejected, he left the Chiefs basically as their number one in sacks, safeties, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, and still holds the record for the most sacks in the game. He was dominant.
6 sacks.
7.
7, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about somebody who transcends that position, Defensive Rookie of the Year. When I think of DT, Derek Thomas, I think of the very first Von Miller.
Yeah. It's a good call.
Because I think Derek Thomas was different than LT, Lawrence Taylor, and I don't think Von Miller's quite LT-ish. I think he's more Derek Thomas than anything.
Yeah.
And he unofficially holds the sack records for NCAA. They didn't start counting those until 1990. He graduated in 88. So I know Suggs had it, and then I think the guy that we drafted, Jalen Ferguson, has it, but he had 52 throughout his career, and 27 in one season, and they only played 13 games.
The one thing he had that is, I don't know if anyone can say theirs is better, was his get off. He is Mr. Get, like it was.
That's why I said Von Miller.
Yeah. It's a great comparison, and it's one that I don't think anyone, like, stupid. I followed Von Miller coming into the NFL. That's not a comparison that I've heard anyone make, but it is spot on. It's the get off and it's the tomahawk chop. His ability to strip sacks. He was a dominant football player. So with that in mind, Kev, you wanna explain yourself?
I do. I went with Willie Lanier was my linebacker that I put in this group, and that's no knock to DT. But I feel like there's no way you can mention the Chiefs without mentioning Willie Lanier. He was a part of Super Bowl IV. I think it was the fourth and final AFL NFL merger game that the Chiefs won. He was one of the two first black middle linebackers in the history of football. He was labeled as probably one of maybe a handful of unblockable players. If you just turn on his tape, YouTube, we have it. It's 2019. It exists. He was unstoppable in an era where football was just a different sport than what it is right now. But what was most important to me was that he said a few years ago, he was getting interviewed by ESPN that he got it was a week after he had a head injury during a game, 1967. The week after, he collapsed on the field from that injury.
Foreshadow.
And he passed out for 2 hours. His heart stopped beating 3 different times for this franchise. I don't think that.
Okay, Kevin.
As Jay-Z would say, what more can I say? No knock to nobody, but I felt like this was gonna go without him being mentioned.
The blood is in the
I had
water,
to bring up
baby.
Willie Lanier.
All right. When you think of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I believe 3 of our ambassadors had this guy, and I mentioned him before. That's the founder of the organization, Mr. Lamar Hunt. Dev, you want to talk about why Mr. Lamar Hunt is on your Mount Rushmore for Kansas City?
Yeah, you can make an argument that if there, you can put him on the NFL Mount Rushmore. The AFC champion is named after him. You talk about somebody who got rich in Texas by oil.
That oil money.
That old dirty money. And he tried to buy an NFL franchise and got turned down because they didn't. The league was still growing and they didn't want to just add anybody to the mix. So he did it with any entrepreneurial white man in the 50s would do, was just say, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And he went and with a couple of other people and created the AFL. I mean, when you think about football and the spectacle and the Super Bowl, he's actually the one that coined the phrase Super Bowl. So, and he kind of did it tongue in cheek, and then it kind of stuck, and the media got a hold of it because they wanted to keep it the AFL NFL championship. And the media was like Super Bowl, and they was like, okay, fuck it, we'll fold. We'll call it that. So when someone has that much influence over the biggest event on a single day in the country, you got to put him up there on this team's Mount Rushmore, if not the entire league's Mount Rushmore.
Redo.
You ever heard the story of how he came up with the name Super Bowl? There was a toy called Super Ball that his wife would bring his kids. He was like, Super Bowl? I mean, Super Bowl, it almost sounds like college bowl games. Like something that simple. The one thing about him, he was a visionary. He predicted that the Super Bowl would one day be one of the biggest sporting events of the year, regardless. He knew the only way for the NFL to have actual growth was the merger. He pushed for the merger. He pushed for order in one draft for both sides. Like the modern NFL is largely because of certain things that he pushed for. So to piggyback what you said, and another thing, he was the nice version of Jerry Jones. He was beloved by his players. Players would say, he would be in the locker room, win or lose. We knew he cared with us. It wasn't that he was just an owner. So when you have your players who think the owner cares for you, that goes a long way. Yeah, you're willing to do more when it's not just a paycheck.
And timing is everything because the Super Bowl didn't get coined until Super Bowl III, which is largely regarded as the most important game in history, which was the Jets' guarantee over the Colts.
So I didn't have Lamar Hunt, but I did have his first coach, Mr. Hank Stram, as being on the Kansas City Chiefs Mount Rushmore. Mr. Hunt was actually a bench player when Stram was a coach. And so Omar.
Lamar, Lamont, Omar, one of them.
Kyrie, that's what I'm saying. Damn. You talk about being a visionary. He was someone, he attempted to get Bud Wilkinson to coach the Dallas Texans, got turned down. He attempted to get Tom Landry, and then he went and got this young coach, Mr. Hank Stram. And when you talk about a visionary and innovation, that is Mr. Hank Stram. First of all, in 1968 against Junior Blues Oakland Raiders, the Chiefs entered a game without a healthy wide receiver to play. So what did Hank do? Hank said, we're going to dust off the old T formation. And the Chiefs won that game 24-10 and ran for 600 yards. Okay.
Hey, the Ravens gonna do it soon.
It's coming back.
Then we come to 1969 AFL Championship game in the Super Bowl IV going against the Minnesota Vikings. And Stram is the coach that introduced, number one, the moving pocket to go against that fearsome defense that Minnesota had, as well as a triple stack defense, okay? Also, Stram was the first professional football coach to wear a microphone. So when you watch a lot of those
Matriculate
old,
the ball down the field.
when you watch a lot of those old AFL, NFL games and you hear the coach talking, Hank Stram was the first coach to
Was
do
he
that.
the first to wear a toupee on the sideline?
So when you talk about the innovation and the foresight that Mr. Lamar Hunt had, being able to hire the most successful coach, I think, in franchise history for Kansas City, Mr. Hank Stram, that for me is why he's on my Mount Rushmore for that organization.
Was Lamar a popular white name for men back in 1932? Like this, I don't know. A
popular
white guy
rich
named
name.
Lamar is kind of weird.
I've heard of a few Rich Lamars.
I know Lamar Alexander, who was an old senator from Tennessee. Lamar Hunt, maybe. And now it's just a corner boy name.
Lamar.
A fast corner boy.
Lamar.
Junior Blue, you had, I believe his name is
Buck Buchanan.
Buck Buchanan. Talk about that.
The reason I chose him is he's unheralded, but he was the first black player to be chosen number one in professional football. He came in as a defensive lineman in 1963.
Okay.
He ran a 4.9 as a defensive lineman in the 60s at 6'7".
He was blazing.
Oh, he was.
He
He
was blazing.
He was a trailblazer.
Exactly. So when you think
Like a
of
serial killer.
when you think of defensive linemen and now you see what they're running, the size of them, it all started with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't get brought up. I didn't know that he was the first player to go number one, black player ever to go number one. And when I read that, I was like, he has to be up there because he broke the barrier and he was a trailblazer, not only for being picked first,
Right.
but for also being being 6'7" and running a 4.9, when at that time we were talking about defensive linemen 5'4",
Yeah.
5'6". So
I mean, if you 6'7" and you running a 4.9 today,
exactly.
because first of all, if you 6'7", you're playing nose
And
or
you
you're
are
playing D
blocking
tackle
everything.
and you're blocking everything. So the fact that you're running 4.9, I mean, that's
Dunlap from the Bengals.
that's slave status.
It definitely is slave status.
You had Mr. Bobby Bell, Redo.
Yes.
Talk about Mr. Bell.
So besides his 12-year career with the Chiefs, let me just run down these numbers real quick. So elected to the Pro Bowl nine times. First team All-Pro from 1965 to 1970. Super Bowl or championship game for AFL Hall of Fame, first team. Pro Football Hall of Fame, second team. 1970s team. Chiefs Hall of Fame. Numbers retired, inducted to Pro Football Hall of Fame, 1983. Besides all that, apparently Mr. Bobby Bell has the best barbecue joint in
That's enough. That's
Listen,
enough.
we going.
Enough
Put him on the
said.
Rushmore.
The Johnson brothers, both of you guys had Mr. Will Shields. I'm not mad at the choice. Dev, talk about it.
When you talk about somebody who embodies the Chiefs organization, they have, I think, like 17 or so, 18 or 19 Hall of Famers. Only like 7 or 8 stayed with the organization the whole time. He played his entire career there. And you put in the fact that he blocked for people like Marcus Allen, Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, who all had led the league in rushing, had successful careers.
Yeah.
He had 5 seasons where he blocked for someone that ran 4,000 yards.
Yep.
5 seasons where he blocked for someone that threw for over 4,000 yards. He started 231 straight games, which was a record for a lineman. The only game he didn't start was his very first game as a rookie. So everything after that, he was on. And you talk
That's
about
called a short learning curve.
yeah. Okay. we gotta get him in. you talk about somebody great. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's on the All-Decade team for the 2000s. With again, you got linemen like Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace, and Rofe, who actually
Willie Rofe.
played for this franchise, but he's more of a Saint than anything.
Yeah.
Like, and he made the All-Decade team.
Wallace Jones.
Yep. Walter Jones.
Walter Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean,
Sorry, Walter.
Just for that, for me, I mean, you kind of have to put him up there.
Kev.
Yeah, everything mentioned above. 12 Pro Bowls, never missed a game in 14 seasons. I think he only missed one start. It's the second longest streak at the time of games played behind Brett Favre. We always give him the Iron Man, accolade, but nobody connects Willie Shields to that. I think Devin's comment about him blocking for Larry Johnson. For Larry Johnson, kind of what I noticed. Like, do you know what it had to be like to block? But fucking Marcus Allen and Larry Johnson.
And throw Priest in the middle.
And we talk a lot about staples for franchises, but he's, again, one of those guys that during that era, it was like you had to have a tackle that could hold down that side of your offensive line the way all those other teams did. And Willie Shields deserves to be up there just like anybody else.
Listen, we're going to get out of here. My fourth guy, though, and I want you to stay with me, is Patrick Mahomes. Listen.
That sounds like an Omar pick.
Listen.
Didn't he kill me for my
thought
Geno
about that.
Smith?
Listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen.
Come on, man.
Listen.
He will be.
He has made that franchise
Save
relevant.
franchise.
He has saved their franchise. And he, listen,
Come on,
threw
man.
for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. There's only one other person that you
Two.
can say, no, there's only one that's thrown for 5,050 touchdowns, Peyton Manning. That's it. He's the second one, and he did that in his first year starting. He made that franchise relevant. If he retired today, he will not have to pay for another barbecue sandwich.
I don't know.
Bobby Bell got him.
Listen, let's get to our Brexit Bootbag winner. We actually have a new segment this year called The Rabbit Hole that we haven't touched in a little bit. But our Brexit Bootbag winner this week,
clear.
he dug his own rabbit hole and then he jumped in it. Omar, take it away.
So, there was some criticism. Fair or not, on social media, stop laughing, of Cleveland Browns safety Jermaine Whitehead. Some media heads, some fans. Apparently he played a bad game in a bad loss.
He just missed a tackle.
Which included him getting bulldozed by Broncos tight end Noah Fant. It was an ugly loss to the lowly Denver Broncos for a team that came into this year as some people's fancy pick for Super Bowl.
Some people.
So apparently the social media backlash or criticism.
Sorry, Omar.
No, it's fine.
It's perfect timing.
Yeah.
It got into Jermaine. And it got into his head. So he decided to get on the Twitters and he vented.
Why did he do that?
I'm not going to give you everything he said, but basically he wrote about beating people up and killing them
That's right.
and called a couple people crackers. Cracker ass crackers.
Cracker ass crackers.
Dark-skinned Jermaine.
I mean, he personally threatened Dustin Fox, who's a local Browns reporter, who was the first to criticize him in the game.
He also gave his address if you want to visit him.
You want to pull up?
Within 24 hours, he lost his shit and he lost his job because the Browns cut him, which makes him this week's Brexit Bootbag Award winner.
And that's an appropriate posture right there.
Took a shit on his career.
Put the helmet right underneath.
This mother.
Yeah, he blew that. He blew
He
that.
did confess he was playing with a broken hand. Does that justify any of his?
Absolutely
He
not.
also asked for his job back.
And
Did
so,
he?
yes.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming
he
they
did.
said no.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
You
Let's
can't just
get
go around willy-nilly calling people crack ass
on blood.
right. He was gangbanging. Let's get to our football tea, which is our hot topics segment. It is the midway point of the season. And so it's about that time to check in on the race for the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft. We've got some. Listen, we've got some racers here. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals. They're over, and they might go over 16. We've got the Washington football team. They suck. They also have fired their coach. We've got the New York Jets. Adam Gase. Oh my God.
They need to fire their coach.
We've got the Miami Dolphins who got to win. Listen, I'm happy for you, Coach Brian Flores. Keep the good faith. And then we've got the disappointing Atlanta Falcons who have 1 win. Thing is, none of these teams really need a quarterback. So my question to you guys is, who really needs to tank, and who are they tanking
I
for?
disagree.
I disagree. Why
does
does Cincinnati not need a quarterback?
Because they have Ryan Finley, who they like a lot, and who was well regarded.
Let's ask it again.
Just because you don't know who he is.
So you get a chance to top the number 1 pick. Let's say top 5 pick.
No, they don't pay for the
Well,
number 1.
listen.
Also Miami.
He's been a trending hashtag in Miami.
Josh
They
Rosen
are
got his chance.
tanking.
I get his situation may have been fucked up.
Listen. None of these got the number 1 pick as it is right now, and I'll say I don't think it's Tua.
No,
I think it's Chase Young. It's by far Chase. But you got Chase Young.
Yeah.
You've got Tua. I'm not gonna say his last name. I call him Double T from Alabama. You got Double J from Alabama. Jerry Jeudy, number 1 receiver. You do have Justin Herbert. You've got Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU. You've got Jeff Okudah, who is a really good corner out of Ohio State.
The other quarterback. What's the other one? That's
You're talking about LSU's quarter. You got LSU's quarterback.
Yeah.
They're not talking about him as being hyped. Like, it's no consensus number 1. You don't have to take a quarterback.
If I am the Bengals and I have a chance to get Tua, I'm taking Tua.
Yes.
I know Young is probably the best player to draft, and Tua's been hurt, but you take that. You have to.
No,
you got rid of Marvin. You getting rid of the red rifle.
But you have a young, and here's the thing.
I think Miami needs a quarterback more than Cincinnati.
Listen, if you're right,
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're not glad that's another record.
if you're right on Finley, your 3rd round pick, from a financial standpoint, that's and now
But Finley's about to get his shot, so we'll see.
And granted, they haven't done the smart thing, because I don't know why you hold on to AJ Green. And why are you going to pay him if you're going to hold? You could have traded him, got more assets. So I don't want to really argue finances for Cincinnati.
Are we arguing smarts for Cincinnati?
I know. Yeah. I'm just saying.
If you're arguing fit, if you truly believe Chase Young is the best player, should be the number 1 pick, then the Atlanta Falcons need to do whatever they can to get that number 1 pick. That defense is terrible.
MVP race. Devin kind of touched on it in his S. Carter collection segment. I think we all agree it's Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Russell Wilson. Is there any dissent there?
There are dissent with the prognosticators.
We're not talking about them because they're losers. Who's in the lead right now? Rapid fire, Kev.
My MVP is the 8-ball, Lamar Jackson, but taking my glasses off is Russell Carrington Wilson. He's doing things that other guys aren't doing with their rosters.
Head and shoulders above is Russell Wilson.
It's Russell.
It's Russell?
I actually got Russell and then Lamar close second.
You got Lamar close second?
Yep.
Russell
Really?
is having...
Russell's balling.
I agree with it. But I also think Lamar...
I think Lamar's more of a surprise.
Exactly. He's changing the game.
Mm-hmm.
He's passing the ball. He's running the ball. And he's leading, like 6-2 now? 6-2?
Yeah.
You're 6-2 now. Same record as Seattle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like Russell is MVP as of right now. But Lamar
Our team is better
close.
than theirs, though.
Lamar's on the tail. Interesting.
But to give Deshaun Watson some love, did y'all see the play he made when he jumped over the Jags safety?
Man, listen,
Harrison,
yes.
into the end zone.
It's now
that was the same exact guy he jumped over in the championship game when he was at Clemson and
Really?
Harrison was at Alabama. Same end zone, same play.
Wow.
Jumped over in the same
And
way.
he also got kicked in his eye and threw a touchdown the week before.
I was gonna say it's like
checking his eyeball.
I was gonna say it's going on like 4 weeks in a row now where he's
put on his cape.
He's making a play that's ridiculous.
I got Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson on my fantasy team.
You don't know who to
wow.
play.
You know, and Russell keeps winning every week.
Every week.
Yeah.
All Are we seeing the movie Concussion come to life? Okay. For those of you,
Yes.
for those of you that haven't seen the movie, Will Smith, he plays the famed doctor that talked about CTE and brain trauma.
Tell the truth.
And I'm bringing this up because yesterday, Kellen Winslow Jr., it's really a sad story. Because Kellen Winslow, when we talk about tight ends, we had that conversation earlier
Is it though?
about Tony
Deserves
Gonzalez.
all this shit. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we talked about Tony Gonzalez. Kellen Winslow was a part of that wave of when the tight end position was changing, and he was a really good player, to say nothing of his father, a Hall of Famer. He pleaded guilty yesterday for I think there were 2 specific charges, but if you just read
The minor and the
story,
54-year-old.
yeah, the minor, unconscious minor, sexual assault, 54-year-old homeless woman that he violated in his car. But he's got some indecent exposure in there. He's got a lot of just
He
stuff
copped a plea.
going on.
He copped a plea to cancel out the 6 other charges that
That's right.
included sodomy.
That is not CTE. He
At
was
all.
a sick fuck
I was just-
before all of
I was
this.
just
we'll
waiting
get to
for
that.
y'all to stop talking.
Yeah,
and say
we'll
the
get to
same
that.
shit.
We'll get to that. Keep going.
So you've got Jamal, you've got Kellen Winslow. Then you got Jamal Anderson, who he's had a
He's a
ton
whole
of
alcoholic.
He's had a ton of problems ever since his NFL career ended. He's been arrested for cocaine, for DUI,
5 times.
for exposing himself multiple times at a gas station.
How do you get banned from a convenience store?
Most recently at a gas station, I believe last year, the year before, he was so zonked out that the officer had asked him for his ID, and he handed
Cigarettes.
chips and cigarettes as his identification. And then you have Marion Barber, whose mugshot, if you haven't seen his mugshot,
Yo.
his mugshot, it belongs in the movie Concussion.
He's running through Texas like my man from what's the never mind, keep going.
Well, he's running through Texas like Earl Campbell.
Juggernaut.
He's running through Texas like
Juggernaut.
Earl Campbell. He's literally running into cars.
That's Juggernaut.
If you know anything about Marion Barber's career, he made a career because that's all he did was
Yes.
seek out contact as a running back. He was there with
His is CTE.
Yes, definitely. 100%. Yes, it's gonna come full circle.
So, all of these, they're bizarre news stories.
Man.
They involve crime and just weird behavior. The question I have, which you guys have started to jump in on, is this CTE related? Or because the thing about Concussion was you were hearing these bizarre stories of players and they were acting out and being weird, and some would kill themselves and some would just go off of the deep end. Is it CTE? Should the NFL be concerned? These are all guys that we have seen not only in their pro, but we've seen them in college. Kevin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they should be concerned, and not to say it's the number one concern or the number one reason why these things are happening. But if you take guys, and not to paint every player, every man with the same brushstroke, but if you take guys who are raised in an environment where it's this super extreme, macho personality that anything you say goes, you get to play beyond different types of rules, and then you not only take the game away from them, but take their meaning away from them. They're out on the street, no purpose, and add the fact that their brains might be fucked up from playing the sport. Yes, I think to a degree it does contribute to what we see from players when they retire or when they're just not playing anymore. That this shit is just strange, bro. But at the end of the day, like Les was saying, in some instances, yo, you just a creep. But I do think this is something the NFL should consider, because we won't know if it's the case or not until they die and their brain can be examined. But this is strange, man.
I don't think they have to be that concerned, because this is nothing new. They're already trying to at least make it seem like they're putting their best foot forward for safety. So every now and then something may come up, but every player is aware now. No one can say they're not aware anymore. So the NFL as a whole is somewhat protected. Now, the only thing they have to worry about is bad press. And so far, they have been bulletproof to bad press in the long run. So the only thing they can do as a sport is try and mitigate the circumstances going forward. And at the very least, they're trying to portray that that's what they're doing. Because it's still, these circumstances are rare and far between where someone's acting out to the point where they're getting arrested. Now, there are a lot of people who are sitting at home with a shotgun in their mouth because they're depressed and somebody may saved him, or in the case what was the Junior Seau who put it to his chest, right? So, but these still, when you count the amount of players, still a rare thing that where it comes out. They just so happen that these three.
Well, Junior put it to his chest so they could look at his brain.
Right.
So
and you can't tell, like Kevin said, you can't tell today gone.
Yep. For me, I've always thought that you had to be a little bit crazy or off to play football. And maybe now we're finding out that when you play growing up and the hits that you take are causing this. I myself only played 3 years of organized ball. And then I realized at the time I was way too fucking small to be doing it. So I just continued to play basketball. But imagine doing that for over the course of 20 years, getting hit. Maybe it's not that they're off and crazy. Maybe they're being made that way because they're taking these hits, and it's accumulation over time. Now, you said that he's a creep. He was probably always a fucking creep, but to actually act out on those things, I mean, there's just too many instances.
Or the boundary, or maybe because there's trauma, your sense of boundary and judgment is distorted, is out of whack. So then it causes you to act out. Are you concerned, Junior Blue? I mean, these are all players that they didn't have the longest careers. Again, like I said,
They've been playing since they were 6 years
literally
old.
have watched Kellen Winslow from I'm a soldier.
Which should have been a clear-cut example there. Hey, we were in the middle of 2 fucking wars when he said that.
He tried to tell us.
Junior Blue?
I mean, it's a concern, but you also have to look at what 2 of the players were running backs. 2 of them their job was to run through a hole and get tackled on 98% of the
And Kellen Winslow was, like Jeremy Shockey, one of those tight ends that also was looking to seek and destroy.
I don't want to. There's certain things, like if you think about everything somebody has done, like if you think about the people who've had CTE or that we know have had it or have acted out or we believe had it, none of them have done what he did the number of times he did. Marion Barber is working out and the lady pulls out and he was like, fuck it, I'm gonna run into the car.
And then he ran into another car.
And then he ran into another car.
And then it was reported he stood on top of another car and ran over that one.
Right, so that's judgment, right? That's judgment. That's an error in judgment. That's your shit is fucked up. I'm doing shit. You have Jamal Anderson, who at one time was the biggest thing in Atlanta and was a star. And once that 80,000 people aren't cheering for you anymore, what do you have left?
Alcohol.
And another person who was running the ball, 450 times in a season?
There's a big difference between that and what my man say in the Predators movie. What time is it?
Yeah, exactly.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
It's raping bitches time.
Yeah. Like, there's a huge difference in these things.
But you talk about judgment, like that's you maybe you have that impulse and you don't do it, but it's like it's opening the floodgates. Like
Dog,
maybe
I don't have the impulse to rape women.
Neither do
to jack off in the car.
Yes, all that shit. Like maybe
he was
maybe
done
had those
already.
thoughts and it was like, okay, I shouldn't do that even though I want to. But the CTE was like, no, go ahead, do it.
Well, then in his case, glad he got CTE so he could stop.
Go ahead, do it. I mean, it's a mixed bag.
I love how you turned CTE into a Smurf, Dad. No, go ahead and do it.
I definitely think it's a fact. It may not be the overall one, but if anyone who's had a concussion, which I have, it does. You do feel it. You feel it. So I can only imagine it happened to me one time. If that happens to you 4 times every Sunday for 10 years,
You might have one
pretty
now.
sure it
Check
impacts
your
your
lip.
judgment.
Hey, 5
Hey,
years
man.
from now, let's
I
check
get hit
in
over
on
here.
Brandon Cooks. See how he's doing.
No, we gotta check on him in 5
You
weeks.
gotta listen. I keep saying it. We gotta check on.
Today?
We
What
gotta
the fuck
check
you
on
mean?
Zach Thomas. Where is Zach Thomas?
We haven't heard from him.
Let's get out of here with our game picks. Me and Les, we're at the bottom, but we picked up a game.
Everybody had a bad week.
On the leaders. We had an okay week because we gained ground on Omar. We gained ground on you, Dev.
Did you?
Yeah, we absolutely did. We only had 6 wrong. Y'all had 7 and 8 wrong. So that's a game in my book. Will you take it, Les?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we've got
You have no
really.
choice.
We've got really good games this week. We'll start Sunday afternoon. The Carolina Panthers, who it was just reported today, Mr. Cam Newton is on IR, done for the year. Feel sorry for him. Liz Frank's situation, and that's a situation to keep your eye on because he's going into the last year of his deal.
$19 million.
They can save $20 million by cutting him, so watch out for that. We've got Carolina going against Kevin's favorite team, second favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, who are coming off of a shellacking here in Los Angeles. Who you got, Red O?
Carolina Panthers.
Carolina on the
Fuck
road.
Green Bay.
Okay. Dad?
Pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Pissed off Aaron Rodgers.
Green Bay at home.
I've got a pissed off Aaron Rodgers. Kev, what you got?
I'm done crowning people, but I think the Packers win this game.
KOD in the building.
We've got the Sunday night game. A really good game here. The other thing about all of these games that we have, these are 6 teams that, there are 9, we can just call it right now. In the NFC, there are 9 teams that are competing for a playoff spot. Philadelphia is 9th. These other teams are in the top 7. So all of these games matter. Minnesota Vikings coming off of a tough road loss to Kansas City, going against the Dallas Cowboys, who did what they were supposed to do last night against the New York Giants. The game is in Dallas, Kevin. Minnesota or Dallas?
I want to pick Minnesota, but Kirk Cousins plays like shit against good teams.
Yeah. And on the road.
Fuck. Cowboys, I guess.
Cowboys, I guess.
Man, it's the same sentiment. This is a pick'em game because it's not like the Dallas Cowboys are gangbusters. Like they weren't playing good yesterday until they were.
Mhm.
Black Cat came on the field.
Right.
And changed everything.
And so, but and then it's the Kirk Cousins thing. So I am going to go with Dallas.
All the dope smokers are back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. I like Dallas as well
The
because
Vikings gonna fuck them up.
Well, that's how it works.
Every week.
Well, I don't know how I don't trust Kirk Cousins without any weapons. Adam Thielen is
out.
hurt.
Yep.
Thielen is re-injured his hamstring. The Titans are not going to bother them. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a tough game. I like Dallas to win. Finally, I think the game of the week, which is Monday Night Football. Mike, this is for you, buddy.
He leaned a little bit.
He leaned a little bit into it. We're going to find out everything we need to know about the San
Absolutely
Francisco
everything.
49ers. We've got the Seattle Seahawks that are coming to town, and they coming to town with the biggest dope smoker of them all, Mr. Josh Gordon. Dad, who do you have in that game?
This is the definition of a pick'em. I'm a reserve judgment for when I actually pick it. But for the show, I'm picking with the 49ers.
Listen,
until
I feel the
otherwise.
same way, man.
Bruh, Russell was playing out of his mind. The defense is rolling in San Fran, but
I'm picking the 49ers. Kenyon Drake. Not Kenyon Drake.
Well, he did have a good game against
Yeah,
them
no, it
for
was Kenyon.
Arizona.
They traded for him, right?
Arizona.
Arizona traded for him.
They got Breida.
Vodka.
The vodka's hitting.
Listen, man.
the vodka just checked in.
Coleman.
That's CTE. That's CTE.
My CTE is
Go ahead,
different,
Omar, you got it.
though. My CTE is a little different.
I think you're talking about Emmanuel Sanders.
Jesus Lord. That's who they traded for.
Yes.
Had a
Not
great
so
game.
redundant though,
You had
huh?
to walk it. You had to walk it.
Yeah, appreciate the help. But I feel the same way as Dev, man. Like, this is a pick'em game. Because we don't reach, they
We don't know.
undefeated, but we really don't know.
We're gonna find out a lot about both.
Junior Blue, can you please make a decision?
Hey, I'm not going against Russell.
On
I
the
got to
road.
see. I didn't want to.
Wow.
Yes,
You
Mike.
are there.
I
San
mean, flip a coin, man.
San Francisco is 10 days rest because they played Thursday night. Seattle is definitely going to be up for this game. Not having Quan Alexander will make a
South
difference.
the year.
Chris Carson will be the difference in the game. I like Seattle in a close, low-scoring game.
Look at you making a decision.
Kev, Seattle, San Francisco.
I'm gonna keep with this show's theme. Second week in a row, a black quarterback is gonna slaughter an undefeated team in prime time. Seahawks.
You gonna make me change my pick.
All right, this has been another episode of 32 Kings Road. As a reminder, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram. Also, please visit our website, theleagueam.com. Shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman holding it down for Diplomatic Immunity, our on-site blog. Also, please subscribe to and rate our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. This was a great show, fellas. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
Cheers, mate.
busted in. We broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.